What's up, y'all? eBay fight predictions in the building. I'm here to talk about that Dan Ige, Calvin Kattar fight card. Man, this card has taken a hit. Man, we were supposed to get some pretty decent fights. Some of the fights got moved, like Carlos Esparza versus Marina Rodriguez. We were supposed to get that fight here. I think they're gonna fight on the Darren Till card. Um, we are also supposed to get who else? Oh yeah, Pedro Munoz versus Frankie Edgar. How could I forget? I was supposed to get that, and Frankie ended up getting not Frankie. Pedro ended up getting COVID. So shit happens. But at the end of the day, man, we push along. This is a good main card. Some fighters to check out on the prelims. Jake Shore versus Aaron Phillips. Aaron Phillips is a good fighter, good Muay Thai fighter. Jake Shore is a rising prospect. A lot of people are checking out. Another good scrap I'm looking forward to is probably Jared Gordon versus Chris Fishgold in the prelims. But you already know we're here to talk about the main card. And we start off the main card with a crazy banger of a fight. Man, the guy is back. Abdul Razak Hassan versus Mounir Lazzez. Man, this is such a good fight, man. We haven't seen Abdul fight, I think, in the last 2 years. It's kind of crazy that he's it's been a minute. I think he was dealing with some sexual assault issues, but yeah, man. Last fight he had was against Nico Price. Knocked Nico Price out. I know some people aren't that sold on Nico Price, but I am. Uh, the guy is a great competitor. Has wins over Tim Means. Who else? James Vick. Am I think of anyone else? And even in his losses, he's done pretty good, man. He took a Jeff O'Neal to the limit. Um, he has more wins. I think Alan Joban. If I'm thinking about in total, Randy Brown, who's going to be fighting Vicente Luque. Who else is he beaten? Uh, I'm going off the top of my head. Is there anyone else? Am I missing anyone else? Um, I think yeah. I think I named some of the notable wins. But yeah, man, the guy is going off lately at welterweight, and I think Nico Price is a top 15 guy, and compared to what Vicente Luque, both times by the way, and Jeff O'Neal did, who are supposedly supposed to be better than Abdul based on ranking. Abdul took him out quickly, and those guys struggled, man. The second fight with Vicente Luque with Nico was a complete fucking war. Jeff O'Neal got took into the limit, and I felt low key. I don't want to say got exposed, but you've seen some holes in Jeff O'Neal's game, and I think Nico exposed that. So that Nico Price is a good fighter, and for Abdul Hazakaruk to take him out like that quickly, it's pretty impressive. But he's gonna be fighting Lazzez Mounir. This is another good guy, man. That guy is making his promotional debut. But from the highlights I've seen of him, because I wasn't that too familiar with him, that guy is a killer, man. Oh man, dude, he has one hell of a 1-2 high kick combination I've seen. But I think things that worry me about him is he keeps his hands really low, and in this fight against Abdul, I don't know if he will go forward, but if you look at some of his fights, he does go forward a lot, and he breaks people. Um, and I don't think that's the best thing to do against Abdul, man. That guy, I think he's one of the hardest hitters at 170, and I'm gonna be going with Abdul with the knockout. But Lazzez Mounir has a lot of hype. A lot of people are excited to see him fight, so that's also one thing to check out. But next fight, Molly McCann versus Taila Santos. This is gonna be a really good scrap, man. Molly McCann has a lot of hype on her. She's a really good fighter. Puts a lot of pressure on girls. Has wins over I think Arena Lipsky and stuff like that. Um, she's always looked really good. Offensively, obviously, she has really good, you know, um, hooks. Uh, I'm not. I don't know. Like, she's aggressive. I'll say that about her. But some of her striking, I think a lot of her aggressiveness is put into some of her punches, and I think that's a good thing offensively. But man, you're always going forward. I don't know with her. I don't know how she's gonna look going backwards. She did suffer a loss, I think, to Jillian Robertson, right? Or is that how you say her name? But uh, I I don't know, man. She doesn't look good going backwards, but offensively, when she goes forward, she's a killer. And she has a pretty decent gas tank, but she's fighting another tough girl. Um, what's it called? Taila Santos, man. I think she lost her promotional debut. I forgot the girl who beat her, but yeah, she's a tough girl, man. She went undefeated coming into the UFC. I've seen some of her highlights. She has a decent leg kick, and she goes forward a lot. I think this is going to be a good scrap between those two girls. But I'm going to go Molly McCann. I think, Santos can, give her some problems. But I think Molly McCann should take this. Next fight. Dude, this fight I'm super excited for. Jimmie Rivera versus Cody Stamann. This is an awesome fight, man. You got two wrestlers that started in MMA that have completely transformed from that aspect of the game into their striking and have been looking amazing in some of their victories and some of their high points when they were looking good. Especially Cody Stamann. His fight against Brian Kelleher, he just looked good, man. Look on a different level. He didn't even look like he was a wrestler, man. Like he was a Division II wrestler. His ability, his footwork, his slips and his rolls looked really, really good. His boxing looked really, really crisp. He had a good jab. He was circling the octagon. He was fighting really good. I thought he did pretty good against Song Yadong. I thought he low-key won that fight. But, he's fighting Jimmie Rivera. I think a lot of guys are sleeping on Jimmie. Jimmie has only lost to Aljamain, Marlon, and Peter Yan, guys that are either number one contenders or have fought for titles or who are going to be fighting for titles. Jimmie's really good, man. Another guy, he's not like a college wrestler, but he did start off wrestling in high school. So, but his ability to scramble and his ability to throw that leg kick, and his boxing is really good. And I'm a big fan of Tiger Schulman's. Those guys, they pride themselves in their conditioning, their takedown defense. You look at a lot of those guys like Liam Good, Shane Burgos, man, they got really high level takedown percentages. Same thing with Jimmie Rivera. I think Jimmie's biggest problem is that, especially in that Peter Yan fights, he does good in a lot of areas, but just makes small mistakes and ends up getting caught. I think with Cody Stamann, I think his biggest problem, I think he's really, really good, but he hasn't developed. He's the kind of guy that'll probably go for a double leg in the last minute of a round, just to get around. But he doesn't really implement his wrestling like that, because I don't think he's figured a way to how to use his strikes to transition into his takedowns. I haven't seen that out of him. What's his name? I think Alex Perez or Alejandro Perez or whatever the guy's name is. The guy that got destroyed by Sayong Dong, or however you say that. I'm sorry if I mispronounced Dong's name. But, yeah, when he was fighting, when Alejandro Perez was fighting, what's his name, Cody Stamann, he took Cody Stamann down, and Cody Stamann was beating him in the striking. It was kind of weird, and he was out wrestling another Division II guy, and Perez doesn't really have a wrestling background like that. So I think Jimmie Rivera's scrambling ability and his leg kicks, and I just feel like he's just a little better. He's not that much better than Cody, but I think he's a little better than him in certain areas. And I'm going to be going with Jimmie Rivera to win the fight. But next fight, this is a banger. I understand some people are kind of shocked by this being the co-main event, but Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit, man. It's been a hard one for me to pick. Ryan Benoit, man, he's a good guy, man. A good flyweight. Has wins over Sergio Pettis. He did really good against Brandon Moreno. He dropped him. I think he's lost his last two fights, or lost his last fight. But the guy is a finisher if I've ever seen one. He can finish fools. Really strong Muay Thai. Really good when he rolls and throws a hook. Really strong hooks, I'd say. pure Muay Thai, man, and just a straight up killer. But he's fighting Tim Elliott. I think one of the best scramblers at flyweight. Period, man. There's not a guy that can do what he does, fight the way he fights, that awkwardly, and that even his grappling's pretty awkward. Not just his striking, man. His grappling's really awkward. The way he shifts his bodies and the way he mixes a lot of different even grappling arts with judo and wrestling and all that stuff. He's really impressive, but he's coming off a 3-fight losing streak. Uh, I thought the Askarov fight was pretty close, but I thought it was weird. I thought Tim Elliott was out wrestling him, but I thought Askarov did a really good things from his jab. Who else did he lose? Davison Figueroa. Davison just, man, he got him good with that guillotine. And I forgot the other guy that beat him, but the guy that got the arm triangle in, took him out real quick. How did I forget his name? But with Tim Elliott, man, I feel like he should have the advantage in this fight. Obviously, in the grappling against Ryan, I think Ryan's best way to win is just knocking Tim out. I think Tim should win this fight, but when I hear statements like, I don't care about winning, I just care about getting checks, he's made this statement out before, it is, oh man, it's so depressing, man. Tim Elliott's a good fighter, man. He did so good against Demetrius Johnson, but he's my boy, and I'm thinking about going to Ryan Benoit, but I think Tim Elliott's going to take this one. I think he should take this one. So yeah, I'm going to go Tim Elliott. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan knocks him out. I won't get too mad. But yeah, next up, main event, Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige. Man, this is a awesome main event. I like this fight, man. Both guys, good featherweights. I think both guys deserve the opportunity to go 5 rounds. This is going to be a good scrap. Calvin Kattar, man, he has looked better and better and better, man, in his last 3 fights, man. From Ricardo Lamas to Zabit and then to Jeremy Stephens. Yeah, he lost to Zabit, but he's shown a lot of things in that Zabit fight. And I hold Zabit to a high standard, man. I think that guy is a future champ. Yeah, Zabit might have some holes in his games to fix, but I think Calvin is really, really good. And I don't think Zabit is a little overrated. I think Calvin is a little underrated, and I think Calvin showed a lot in that fight. And I was really surprised how good he was looking and how good he was potentially looking in those championship rounds if that main event had 5 rounds, which is interesting. That main event didn't have 5 rounds, but it is what it is. But his fight against Jeremy Stephens, man, the way he overcame that pressure that Jeremy was putting on him and then just getting that elbow was so beautiful, man. The way he deals with most pressure fighters is amazing. The way he dealt with Shane Burgos, who I'm a big fan of, and I hold him really highly. Man, the way he dealt with him, and the way he got that uppercut, he was able to take him out. So, Calvin's really good, man. He's a straight up sniper. But Dan Ige, on the other hand, man, that guy's, as much as we might, as the community, think he lost Edson Barboza, the guy's a tough guy, man. He makes those fights. I will say one thing, that fight was close against Edson. Even though I felt like Edson should have won clearly, he did a lot of good things in that fight that made Edson, he had to work, man. Even though he dropped him, he was going for takedowns, He was still going forward. The way he fought Edson Barboza, you got to give him credit for fighting him that way. A lot of guys can't withstand that. A guy like Dan Hooker couldn't withstand. Even though Dan did go for takedowns, but it was kind of too late for Dan at that moment. But yeah, when you guys, and what I really respect about Dan is that he's just one of these fighters that just keeps his head up and keeps working, man. His fight against Mirsad Bektic, man, in that second round, there were so many great positions that Massard had in that fight that Massard could have taken advantage of. But in that third round, his coaches tell Dan, hey, you need to put it on him in this third, and Dan put it on him. He's very tough, and he's not a complainer. He's just a simple grinder. Like, you got a lot of complainers in this division. Not really a lot, just one guy. Josh Emmett, man, he's complaining about that. I never got a push, or whatever, or I need to get a push, or the media needs to stop doubting me, or something like that. And I don't understand how a guy can say that. Like, you had a push. You were an unranked guy that fought Ricardo Lamas, right? You knocked him out. Ricardo Lamas at the time was the number 4 guy in the world, right? You got an opportunity there. Then after that, you get a main event against Jeremy Stephens. Yeah, Jeremy Stephens was on a 2-fight losing streak, but not losing streak, winning streak against Gilbert Melendez and Do Hyo Choi. But before that, he lost to Renato Moicano. I'm pretty sure most people thought Josh Emmett was gonna knock him out. A lot of people picked Josh, and I feel personally that they gave him Jeremy Stephens, to win that fight. You had an opportunity there to win. You ended up losing. It is what it is. You took a whole year off, and you lost a lot of your momentum. People still want to see you fight, but it's like, dude, what are you complaining about? I think it's so crazy that you got a major push. I think it's hilarious that he feels that way. But Dan Ige on the other side, he's not complaining at all. He's just a grinder. He keeps his head up, and he keeps, he walks and he does his thing, and that's why I respect him. He's a tough guy, and I think this is going to be a really good fight. But I'm going to be going Calvin Kattar. I think Calvin Kattar is just a little better than him. I think Calvin Kattar gets it done late. I think in the 4th round, Calvin kind of takes a few rounds off just to analyze you, and I think he's just going to. I don't think Dan has enough. Now, Dan can utilize some of his wrestling. He does have a wrestling background, but I don't know if he's that good enough of a wrestler to improvise it, and he hasn't really been using a lot of his wrestling in some of his fights. And he has he's okay with fighting and standing and banging. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think Calvin Kattar should get it done. But that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And another note, you guys are gonna get this a little early. I usually send these out on Sunday, but I'm, I ended up, working. I got work on Sunday, so I wasn't able to get this, get it done on Sunday. So I'm gonna put this out a little early. I'm positive the card can't change from then, but I hope you guys enjoy and see y'all.